Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Diablo 3. Now, I've got a bit of an apology that needs to be made. We made a video last week, which it was Diablo 3, 1 year later. Now, this was a video, well I'll give you the basic premise behind the video was, okay, Diablo 3 is a year old, let's go and check Diablo 3 out. Now, let me just quickly explain what my experience, and Kirioth's as well, has been with Diablo 3. I played D3 for possibly 2 weeks when it launched, and then never again. So I'm not really that up on, you know, any kind of changes and stuff like that. I think then when we came to make the video last week, we sort of we hadn't read up on anything, you know, in terms of like major changes to the game. We were just like, okay, we don't. Why should we read that? All we need to do is just play the game. Surely, if there's been any major changes to things like most notably as difficulty, then the game will tell us. Now, the game has a system called Monster Power, which I didn't even know. Now, it must have been added after the 2 week or so period that I intensively played the game, which hilariously I played the game for about 80 hours in that period. So I did play it a lot, and I do remember at the time I said things like, you know what, I never really got my money's worth out of this. Now, I don't know about you, but if you pay 30 quid for a game and you play it for 80 hours, I think you're kind of getting your money's worth there, but whatever. So this is just going to be one big fat video where I'm just going to kind of apologise for the, like, almost the state of that video. Now, going back to that video itself, it sort of was designed to be from the perspective of somebody who played the game at launch, did not touch the game for a year, and because it came back into the news and people started talking about D3 again, we thought, you know what, let's play it and let's give our opinions on the game right now. So Kirioth was very close to Inferno, so we got into Inferno difficulty, and then we started playing the game, and it was really easy. And I was like, I don't understand why people play Diablo 3, because it's so easy. And that was kind of one of the it was almost a running theme straight through the game. It was, the game's too easy. Now, of course, we were completely oblivious to Monster Power, but in my defense, the game never really, it doesn't really tell you about Monster Power, and if it did, I totally did not see it, because you had to go into the options and turn it on. I mean, I've got a bit of a quote from the video from last week, which is from Chibi Gamer. He said, so you do a 1 year, or she, so you do a 1 year later video and not mention changes or even know about Monster Power, lol. Well, in response to that, I said, yeah, it's a 1 year later from our perspective. I'm sure many other players are in the same situation, so take that, lol, and shove it up your arse, sunshine. And that got 13 likes or whatever the hell the comments are, upvotes. God knows what they do on YouTube. So, a fair amount of people did agree with me. But that's not entirely correct, because after playing the game with Monster Power turned on, and in fact the footage that you have been watching is Inferno difficulty Monster Power 2, the game is so much better. This is what I always wanted D3 to be, because if you think of Diablo 2, that was not easy. That was massively difficult, and there was an end game, which I think Diablo 3 now has an end game, which is amazing. I don't know how long it's been there for, but as I say, I've only really recently started playing the game again, and I've been really fucking enjoying what I've been playing. Every time I do a quest or a couple of zones or whatever, I'm getting gold, which I can then spend on the auction house to upgrade my character, to then take him through on different Monster Power difficulties, because I could barely do Monster Power 1. But now I've managed to do that. I can do Monster Power 2 because I've got slightly better gear through running Monster Power 1. You can see where I'm going with this. This is quite entertaining, because now there's a point to the game. You can say things like the auction house is terrible, which again we did bring up in the previous video. The auction house, it is shit. I don't like the auction house. But the auction house is there, and it's like, okay, if you want to play D3, then you're going to have to kind of deal with the auction house. And I think you can kind of deal with it, and the way the game does work with the Monster Power, it's kind of okay, because you're essentially farming for drops to sell on the auction house, which you then use the gold to buy the items you want off the auction house. So, I think I've got one drop that I've actually used, and it's a ring, and I think it actually might be worth quite a lot of money, like a few million gold or whatever. But I've been using it on my character because it's quite a good ring. But everything else has been bought off the auction house, which is kind of like, okay, if you farm a lot of gold, you could sort of really pimp yourself up and then go into maybe monster power 10 or something. But then you've got to factor in the paragon levels, where I think you need to be a certain, now I might not be entirely correct on this here guys, but I think you need to be a certain paragon level, because every time you level up it gives you additional stats and stuff to be able to take on the monster power. I think it can be offset with gear if you get really good gear, but essentially what I'm saying is Diablo 3 is not easy. It is fucking difficult. There are still a couple of niggling little issues I've got, where if you play the game, if you get the game, you know, if you go out and buy the game now and start playing it, it's too easy. And you've got to progress through the different difficulty settings to get up to the level, you know, of Inferno, of monster power settings in Inferno, to actually make the game kind of worthwhile. At least that's how it appears to me, which is sort of like, that's a lot of investment into the game where you're not really going to die. Because I did piss about with a wizard over the weekend, and it's really, really easy. Like a brand new wizard, normal difficulty. It's a joke. Like you can literally, I mean, I was watching the WCS, the StarCraft 2 tournament. I was actively watching that while I was playing Diablo. I wasn't even looking at the monitor, that's how easy it was, which is kind of a bit of a pain up the ass. But I think I want to correct a few things. I think that's kind of what I've just done in this video, where Diablo 3 is not easy. And where I couldn't, well, whereas in the past I couldn't really understand why people played Diablo 3, especially on Twitch, because there was quite a lot of popular Twitch streams, and I'd be watching them thinking, why the hell are people watching this? Because surely it's too easy. But of course it's not too easy, is it? Because they're running on monster power 10. They make one mistake, they die, and it's like, whoa, this is way more difficult and kind of refreshing. And I think, like, for me coming back to the game a year later after not playing it for a year, maybe that's a good thing for me, because it's given them a chance to sort of sort the game out. And I think probably at BlizzCon this year we'll see some sort of an expansion announced for Diablo 3, and maybe we'll get back into it even more then. But I will say, over this weekend, since we made that video, I'm now Paragon level 7. I think I was Paragon level 3 in that video. I've been enjoying the game, and it's really difficult, and it's great being able to push yourself and think, yeah, maybe I can do Monster Power 3 or Monster Power 4, and then you die. It's like, oh god, but maybe if I do it this way, what happens if I change my build? And this whole thing of like trying to adapt your gear, change your skills out, and it's really good. And it's kind of a bit gutting that it wasn't there at the start of the game, because I think it would have got much better reviews and it would have given it an end game. I mean, there's quite a few people who I know and actively speak to who played Diablo 2 a shitload, and they played it for probably thousands of hours. Well, why did they do that? Because when the game launched, it kind of had an end game, you know, it had a point to replaying the game over and over again for better drops and such, whereas D3 didn't really have that. You know, you were getting drops which were no use to you, and it was a kind of a pain up the ass. And then of course the auction house, but I think they've kind of managed to sort that out a little bit. What I will say is, if you do have D3 and you haven't played it for like a year, if you haven't played it for 8, 9, 10 months, like me, give it a go. It is a much better game, especially if you've got a high level character, because running on monster power, well, on any monster power setting, is so much better. Good lord. And I'm really looking forward to kind of, I don't know, playing the game a bit more. It's sort of like a game I've got which I've kind of been ignoring, because I've not really, like I said, we thought it was too easy, but it really isn't. So I just wanted to clear up a few things and kind of show you that we're not stupid at unit loss. If we do kind of make mistakes, then we will correct them. Although I will still say that the 1 year later video, it kind of isn't a mistake, but it's a point of view that I think a lot of people have got. Although when you package it up and say, hey, this is Diablo 1 year later, these are our thoughts, and we're not really talking about the current game, we're talking about our thoughts from a year ago almost, while playing the current game and not fully understanding it, that was kind of not very good. So hopefully this clears it up. Diablo 3 is difficult, and I am really enjoying the game. And of course, as we know, Diablo 3's got the it has got the best combat in any action RPG. It looks nice, it feels nice as well, more importantly. And yeah, it's pretty funky. So as I say, if you have it and you haven't played the game for some time, jump on and just check it out. So I've been Stylosa, guys, clearing up a couple of issues as normal. Oh dear. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLossGaming, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo.